So today I'm working on a commission of a cat in sunflowers, and I didn't really have anything to say about it, except that I've been going through a bit of an artist block lately, like kind of a physical one almost, where it was not really challenging, but for some reason just sitting down to do it, and every little tiny bit that I would do, it was like walking upstream. It was just so uncomfortable, like physically uncomfortable. It took me forever to get through it. So I think December into January has just been a stressful time for no reason. And this is kind of like a really late end of year review kind of video, because at the end of the year, I like to make a list of accomplishments and cool things that I've done. Just because my brain has a habit of only remembering the negative things, and so it makes me feel better. And I like to see growth. But at the end of 2022, my checklist was kind of disappointing. Throughout 2022, I was just doing so many cool new things and having so much fun and feeling really good and bad. It's a roller coaster. And when I made it into a checklist of detached words, it didn't match up and I felt disappointed by it, and so I ended up not making myself like a blog post or video or anything about it, and just kind of went into the new year without any goals, anxiously marching into the abyss. Then I read a question online that kind of gave me a thought. It seems unrelated, but the question was, how do you do art full-time without getting lonely? So apparently there is a stereotype that art is a solitary practice where artists will stay confined to our studios all day to do our work. And the person who posed this question was just thinking about pursuing art sometime, but they really love interacting with their coworkers face to face, and was afraid that pursuing art would be a total mismatch to the personality, a total mistake, because of how unbelievably lonely they assume it would be. And that question actually kind of made me realize that there is definitely something that I want to remember about 2022, which is your enthusiasm and your emotional support. I gotta say, like, 2022 was possibly the least lonely year of my entire life so far. But first, kind of a disclaimer, if you don't know me, I am not anyone's vision of a successful full-time artist. I just get to spend a lot of time on it. I'm also incredibly introverted. I might even say that I'm more easily overwhelmed and drained by everything than your average introvert. And to note that introvert means drained by social interactions instead of energized. It does not mean that a person is shy. However, I am also nervous and shy. I'm already naturally drawn to independent work. Every day job I've ever had ended up with me being like a one-man department. I usually had the key. I maintained my own supply inventory to like a ridiculous extent. All this to say that I started out as already hardened against loneliness, so my experience may not be the same experience. Especially when I say something I noticed about day jobs is that they are actually really lonely. I was usually the only woman in the workplace and treated differently as a result, give or take. And while I cared about the quality of my work, I didn't really have passion in it. I didn't make a lot of close friends. I actually kind of thought that talking about myself and my art would just bore or annoy people, so I was pretty quiet. I also have a guilt complex, which meant that I was never able to request days off or take vacation time, which meant that I could never sign up for weekend markets to sell my art, or even just like hang out with my friends, or go visit my family. And what I felt like up to that point was actually missing any connection with the community, or even like really feeling part of a group or even a family. Like, I would just occasionally put art in juried shows and post things on social media that not very many people would even see. And I did that for like a decade, and nobody locally knew who I was. Nobody online really knew who I was. I really was that artist making art alone in my room and not talking with anybody, which is that outsider artist stereotype that this person was so afraid of. And now this is just my personal perception. I really don't think you can be successful full-time artist and be lonely at the same time, because so much of success in art is networking and marketing. I mean, unless maybe if you go viral on social media, there's always some exception, right? But without that stroke of luck, there's still just like meeting people, making friends. And if you were a major extrovert, you can even replicate your workplace experience by like collaborating with other artists a lot, going all in, splitting the rent on an art studio with a bunch of people so that there's always people around. Like, that sounds kind of fun. Now in 2022, the stuff that I did was I committed to doing a weekly flea market thing, even though it wasn't very good. I did a few community craft fairs. I submitted art to juried shows. I did my own solo show, actually. And I got to go on a road trip with my family, which gave me so many cool things to draw. And traveling is something that I never actually do, so that was really cool. And I got to see my friends a bit more than our usual, like once a year. And a lot of that stuff is stuff that I normally wouldn't be able to schedule around any day job, or I would be too overwhelmed and physically exhausted to do anything on my off time. Like, I definitely would not have committed to meeting a new friend, for example, or I wouldn't have sacrificed a whole Sunday just to sit at the flea market while people stared at me. But doing that and meeting strangers and making new friends was the best thing about 2022. Like, everywhere I went, I would just pop in here and there to switch out a painting, or drop off art for a juried show, or deliver a commission face to face. And everyone I met was just so enthusiastic. Just like the way that sometimes I would be greeted by name by people I don't know that well. Like sometimes event coordinators would tell me how excited they are that I showed up. You know, staff who would say how excited they were to see new artwork from me, or people getting excited that I was somehow the first artist they'd met. I was invited to like tea parties and events I'd never heard of, unsolicited. People were sending me letters and really nice emails. 2022 was also the first year that people that I worked with in the past were returning for second commissions, which feels totally surreal to me. The way that you guys leave thoughtful comments on my videos, and the way people just share just little mundane but intimate details about their life with me, even though you don't really know me, it makes me feel special. But yeah, well, 2022 was definitely like a million times scarier than just being employed somewhere. It was a million times less lonely. So of the millions of things that would discourage somebody from pursuing art full time, I think loneliness should be way down there. Because like I said, I really don't think that we could actually get away with being alone all the time. Anyway, so feel free to blast me away in the comment section. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.